Hello everybody, my name is Mrs. Walsh and I am a teacher at the Livingston Road Primary Federation in Poole. So hello to any Livingston Road pupils that we have, and a big hello to all the other children from the Hanwick schools across the country. So today I am going to be teaching you the first in 5 sessions of art. Now, this is the first time I've ever done a Zoom lesson, so I'm probably going to make lots and lots of mistakes, but I know that mistakes are proof that you're trying, so I'm going to try very hard and hope that I don't make too many, but if I do, please bear with me, okay? Right, so we're going to start now. The first thing I need to do is share my PowerPoint with you, so give me a clap if I manage to do it correctly. I'm just going to press share and go back to this one. Here we go, there. Now, so this is our first session of our 5 art lessons, and today is all going to be about line. Now, line is a really important element in our art, and we see it everywhere in our community as well. So today we're going to start with a game, but before that you need to know what you're going to need for the lesson. Now, not very much, and it should be lying around your house. So today's lesson, you're going to need a piece of paper, a pencil or a thin black pen, could be a biro, could be a felt tip, and your creativity. So you need to use your imagination, be resilient, don't worry about making any mistakes. Okay, it's all about just giving it a go. Okay, I'm not the best artist in the world, but I will have a go and I do enjoy myself. So that's what we're going to do today. Right then, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to play a game. So in our community, as I said, we see lines everywhere. So I'm going to show you a picture of a line that you may find in the world around you, and you've got to guess where you have seen that line before. Are you ready for the first picture? This is going to warm our brains up to be thinking about lines today. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Here is the line. Now, can you guess where you might find a line like this? Maybe you've seen it inside. Maybe you've seen it outside. Oh, I can almost hear you thinking, do you know where it might be? 3 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. It was from a road. So these markings in the road, they're kind of diagonal lines, and then we've got some bendy lines going around the corner. They kind of separate the 2 lanes to space the cars out a little bit. Do you recognise those? Did you get it? Well done. Right, are you ready for the next picture? Here we go. It's a bit blurry because I've had to zoom in, but I'm sure you can have a good guess. Again, do you think it was outside? Maybe it was on a wall. It's coloured this time, so maybe not on a road. Have you got something in your head? Okay, 3 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. It's on a playground. Now, I'm sure that in your playgrounds at your schools, you've got lots of markings that you can use to play with. And here we've got lots and lots of lines, multicoloured lines, bendy lines. We've got a kind of zigzag line there, right down the middle with the orange and the yellow spots. I love playing on our lines in our playground. We can invent lots of games on our playground at our school, and I'm sure you can too. Right, are you ready for the next one? Oh, now this one looks a bit different, doesn't it? Maybe not outside. Can you guess where you've seen that before? Do you think it's from a picture? Do you think it is from something you've seen on a sign? 3 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. It was from our letters, from our alphabet. Now, we use those every day. Lots and lots of different lines to make up our letters. We use cursive at our school, so we use quite curly lines sometimes. And that line was from the Y, the loopy bottom section of the Y. Our capital letters are written very differently, aren't they? Lots of straight lines are used for our capital letters. So hopefully that's warmed your brains up, ready for the lesson, and that maybe you got some of those right. If you didn't, don't worry. It was just a game, so just a bit of fun. Right, let's go on to our next slide and get on with what we're doing today. So today, we're going to have a look at some artists. And we're going to look at the pictures and see how they have used lines in their work, how they've used them differently, and how we might borrow or magpie some of their ideas to use in our drawings when we do our art. So when you're looking at these pictures, I want you to think about the shape of the line, maybe how thick the line is or how thin the line is, and also what direction the line is going in. Now, I don't know whether you will have learnt this before at school, but if your line is going directly up, we call that vertical. Vertical, up and down, going up and down is vertical. But if your line falls asleep, whoop, we call that line horizontal, where it is going along, like the lines of a book. Okay, so this line is horizontal. Now, if your line is somewhere in between those lines, we call this, like a plane taking off, diagonal. So this line is a diagonal line. We are going to go over this again in a minute, and we'll have a go at drawing our own diagonal, horizontal and vertical lines. But I just thought I'd say that now while we were looking at the pictures. So what direction is that line going in? Okay, are you ready for our first picture? Right, here we go. Now, some of you may have seen this picture before because I actually got it out of a very famous book series that some of you might have read. So this is from the Tom Gates book series. Now, I wonder if any of you know what we call the person that draws the pictures for a book. Do any of you know? That's right, they're an illustrator, an illustrator. And the illustrator of the Tom Gates books is Liz. Now, I don't know how to say this. I'm going to say Pichon. So I'm going to give it a bit of pizzazz, but it might not be like that. But it's spelled P-I-C-H-O-N. So you could have your own guess with your phonics, couldn't you? Now, how has Liz used line in these drawings? What sort of lines can you see? Yes, I can see some thick lines around the Tom Gates title. The lines are very thick and very bold. Yes, I can see lots of straight lines as well around the stars. Very, very straight and kind of geometric, aren't they? What other lines can you see? Some round lines. Yes, almost like a bit of a rainbow. Can you see above the star at the top? A bit of a rainbow effect there using a bendy line. But very thick, very bold, very clear lines there. I can see some very short dashed lines. Can you see where the word says yo at the bottom under his face? You've got some dashed lines there, a little bit like a road, I guess, aren't they? And coming outside of the little monster, I can see some dashes lines. Can you do that with your hand? Little dashed lines. If you did a straight line like that, we call them dashes. Well done. Right, are you ready for the next picture? There we go, couldn't find the arrow for a minute. Now, I do love this artist, and some of you may have already learned about him in school because lots of schools look at this artist. So this is Mondrian, and he's a Dutch painter. How is this different from the last picture that we looked at? Yes, it's quite simple, isn't it? In a way, it looks a little bit less busy than the one that we looked at before, doesn't it? What kind of lines can you see? Yes, straight lines. I wonder whether he had to use a ruler. I don't think I could draw a line like that if I wasn't using a ruler. What else do you notice about the lines that he's used? Yes, they're quite thick again, aren't they? Thick, bold, black lines. That's very similar to the one that we've just seen, isn't it? That's a similarity between the last one, but these ones are all very, very straight. No curved lines in this picture. What have the lines created in this picture? Yes, lots of shapes, lots of geometric shapes. What shapes can you see? Yes, a square. You can see a red square and a black square there. What other shapes can you see? Yes, a rectangles. Lots and lots of rectangles. There's me saying rectangle, but there's lots of them in there, isn't it? So that is a Mondrian painting, and he has used lots and lots of thick straight lines to create geometric shapes, which he's then used bold colours to colour in. Fantastic. Right, let's look at our next one. Oh, now this is one of my favourites. I had to put it in because it's from a really, really good book that I have in my house. Now, Charlie Mackesy is an illustrator of this book, and it's got beautiful pictures, and it's got lovely words as well. So this one says, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the boy says, kind. And I think that's a really, really nice thing to be when you grow up. You can be anything you want to be, but wouldn't it be lovely if we were all as kind as we could be? So anyway, I've digressed away from the art, haven't we? So let's have a look at the lines that Charlie Mackesy has used in his illustration of this book. What do you notice? Yes, I noticed that too. Some of the lines are very, very thick, and then they flow into very thin lines. Do you think he's used the same pen for those lines? I wonder. He may have had different thicknesses of pens, or he may have had a pen and used it in a different way to create that thin line. What else do you notice about the lines? Yes, some of them, they're all very different shapes. There's not really a pattern there with the lines that he's doing. Some of them are very bendy. Some of them are quite sketchy, aren't they? Almost a little bit random, where he's created the texture. Can you see those straight lines going down the branch that the boy is sitting on? Yes. What else has he used line for? Yes, can you see he's used line to colour? If you look at the mole, which is the animal sitting next to the little boy, he's used very thick black lines to colour in his snout, but he's used lighter, thinner lines to colour in his body. Why do you think he's done that? Maybe. Yes, I think his body maybe is just a little bit lighter than his snout, so he wanted to create that shade and value in the mole. Well done. Excellent job. Right. Now this is, I think this is our last one, but we'll see, but I think it is our last one. This is by an artist called Kandinsky. Now he's from Russia, and he is an abstract artist. Now abstract art means that it doesn't have to really look like what it's supposed to. It can be a mixture of shapes and patterns and colours, and it can just resemble something or mean something else. And the good thing about abstract art is you can look at it and it can mean something different to anyone, and that's okay. So when you look at it, you might have a different idea of what it's about than someone else next to you that's looking at the same picture. And I always find that quite interesting to see what other people think when they look at a picture. And sometimes it helps you think of a few different ideas. So how has Kandinsky used line here? Yes, he's used lots of colour in his line, hasn't he? So we've got lots and lots of thick lines of lots of different colours. How is it similar to the Mondrian one that we looked at earlier? Yes, look, it's got lots of shapes in it as well. What shapes can you see that he's used? He's used some circles, yeah. Some triangles, yeah. There's a lovely zigzag line at the top, very dark and in black. What else has he used? Yep, some kind of rectangular shapes. And yes, a bit of a rainbow shape up there in the corner, isn't there? So he has used loads of different types of lines: zigzags, bendy lines, sketchy lines, thick lines, thin lines, to create quite a busy picture there with all those lines. Very different to the other ones that we've looked at. Now, I think it's time for us to have a go at doing some lines ourselves. So for this, you're going to need just a scrap piece of paper. It doesn't have to be anything fancy because we're just going to have a little go, okay? And then we'll do something with our knowledge in a second, okay? So I'm going to try and come out of this stop sharing so that you can see me. Let me see if that works. Did it work? Yay, another clap. So we're going to have a go at just drawing some different shaped lines, but we're going to give them names, okay? Now, they might not be artistic names. They're just going to be the name that I give them so that I know when I want to draw this type of line, I'm going to call it this, okay? So I'm going to have a go, then you can have a go at copying, and then maybe we can pause the video and you can have a go at making up your own lines. Let's see. So the first line I'm going to do, we're going to practice those vertical lines. Do you remember what those vertical lines look like? Vertical lines go up and down, straight up, straight down. Now, I haven't got a ruler, but if you want to pause the video and go and get a ruler for a straight line, then you're more than welcome. But if you think you can have a go without the ruler, then just join in with me. If we get it wrong, what's the worst thing that can happen? Are you ready? So I'm going to start at the, ooh, can't see it. There we go. Now you can see it. Has that worked? Maybe I'll turn the camera. Can you hear my squeaky computer? There we go. So I'm going to go from the top, down, 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 top, down. Why don't you have a go at doing those vertical lines? If you need to, you can say top, down, top, down, top, down. Well done. It's hard to keep them straight, isn't it? I've got very wobbly hands at the moment. So if you need to, you can pause the video if I'm going too fast, or we're going to carry on now. We're going to do our horizontal lines. Can you remember the horizontal line was the line that fell asleep like this? Okay, so now he is lying, going from side to side, nice and straight. Are you ready? Start there, so on and along, on and along, on and along. I'll go up like this way, on and along, on and along, on and along. It looks a bit like a road, doesn't it? Well done, you're doing really, really well. So we've got vertical and we've got horizontal. Can you remember what the line in between a horizontal and a vertical line was? So here's my vertical line and oh, it's falling asleep, but it's not quite there. So it is diagonal. I always think it's a bit like a plane taking off and flying into the sky. So diagonal line. So I'm going to start here and fly into the air. Start here and fly into the air. So this line is called diagonal. Fly into the air. You have your go. Well done. Flying into the air. Flying into the air. Excellent. Which one was easiest? For me, I think it was probably this one. What about you? The vertical line was easy for me. Well done. Right, so are you ready for your next line? If you're not, just pause it and you can keep practicing. That's the good thing about this being on video, isn't it? Now, the next line I'm going to do is, I'm going to do a very relaxed line. I'm going to do a curvy line or a wavy line, you might call it. So I'm going to go up, down, a bit like a gentle C. I'm going to call that my wavy line. How's your wavy line looking? Is it a bit of a stormy sea? Right then, my next line, I'm going to do, imagine a crocodile now. So I'm going to do a zigzag line. Are you ready? So this one, we need to think about our triangular shapes to help us get some nice pointy teeth on our zigzag line. So up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, zag. You could say it while you're doing your zigzag line, couldn't you? Your zigzag line doesn't have to go across horizontally. It can go vertically as well. You could do zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, zag. So there we have our zigzag line. Vertical, horizontal, diagonal, wavy, zigzag. Right, my next line. This is going to be my scalloped line. So this, I often buy clothes that have this kind of bottom on the shirt or on a dress. And I call it a scalloped line, a bit like a, because a scallop is, has got a shell, and so it looks a bit like this. So I'm going to go bend, 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 bend. Can you see that? Might have to lift it up and rub it out in a minute. There we go. Can you see my scalloped line? Have a go at that. You don't have to go under though. You could go over on your scalloped line. I'll go like this. Let me start there. Ready? Over, 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 over. You could do it that way, couldn't you? Well done. Right, I'm just going to move my camera a little bit so that I can use a bit more of my board, and then maybe I'll bend down like this. Okay, now this one's a bit hard and a little bit crazy. So this one is going to be called the loopy line, okay? The loopy line. Let me just move my table out of the way. Maybe I can move this a little bit further in. Ready for my loopy line? So I'm going to go up, loop, up, loop, up, loop. It's a bit like a roller coaster. I think I might be sick if I went onto a roller coaster like that. Whee! So there is my loopy line. That would be nice. I'd like to use that in a picture. That was the funnest one to draw, that one. What about you? What do you think? Fun? Yes. Right then, so I've got my, I'm going to move, do some camera work. This is why I'm not a cameraman and I'm a teacher instead. So we've got vertical, horizontal, diagonal, wavy, zigzag, scalloped, loopy lines. What's going to be next? Now this one, imagine a bumblebee, and this is how you might show the path that they flew on, okay? So I'm going to use dots. So I'm going to go buzz, buzz, dot, 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 dot. And you can make your dotty line any shape. Look, I could go straight. I could go zigzag. You can do it any shape you like. So that is my dotty line. Shall I draw a little bee at the end to show where my bee has been? Sometimes they do that in stories, don't they? To show the path that the bee has been along. Now, I've got room for another one. Can you see this one? Yeah, this one is going to be, actually, I'm not going to tell you what I call it until we've done it. So you're just going to use lots of rectangular shapes. Along, up, along, down, along, up, along, down, along, up, along, down, along. So using lots of straight lines there. Now I call this line like a castle line, because this is the kind of line you see at the top of a turret on a castle. So I call that my castle line. Well done. Right, and now my last line, you might see this in nature in your community, on an animal. I wonder what animal you might think about when I do this line. Are you ready? Pause it, remember, if I'm going too fast, just pause it, and then you can carry on when you're ready, okay? So you can have a practice for as long as you like, really. Right, are you ready? So we're going to start in the middle, and I'm just going to do a circle, and I'm going to slowly keep coming out, and out, and out, and out, and out. What animal does that remind you of? Yeah, a snail. And we call this a spiral line. A spiral. So when you see that, you say it's a spiral. Well done. Right then, now you can practice doing those lines for as long as you like. But if you're ready to start creating something with those lines, then join me now. So what you're going to do is you're going to need a fresh piece of paper. Okay, now this is the one that you're going to use for your drawing today. So if you want to get a really nice plain piece, that's fine, because the other one, we were just having a little practice, weren't we? So we could use our scrap paper. Now, I'm just going to give myself a nice clean piece to work on. Right, now we've got all those lines in our head, all those different lines that we could do, we're going to have a go at creating a doodle. Now, I used to use doodles when I was young to do lots of different artwork. I used to use them to colour in, I used to use them for patterns, and today we're going to use one for line. Now, you've got your piece of paper and you've got your pen or your pencil. And now what I want you to do is take your pencil or pen for a walk on your page. So create some space between your paths. So I'm going to start here. So if you watch me first and then have a go after, and I'm just going to walk around my page like this. And I'm going to come up here, creating lots of space as I do it. Don't go too small, otherwise your spaces will be too small. And I'm going to meet up with where I started. Now, can you see that? There we go. So I'm going to meet up with where I started. Now, can you see the spaces that I have created in my doodle? Now you have a go and create some spaces. What you don't want, let me just show you what might make it difficult, is if you go too small, then you won't have any big spaces to put any lines in. So try and make it nice and big. Fill the whole page and create some big spaces. Right, pause the video and have a go at doing your doodle, and then unpause it when you've done this. Well done. Ready? Now I'm going to rub that out because I don't want that on my page, because this is going to be my nice one. What I want you to do is I want you to pick one of those lines that we just practiced on our rough piece of paper, and I want you to fill up one of the spaces with one of those lines. So I'm trying to think what line I like. Now it's up to you. You could use pencils if you want to. You could use a colouring pencil and make it colourful. It's up to you. Okay, but I've got a green pen and a blue pen and a black pen. So I'm going to start with this section up here. Okay, and I'm going to do the one that I like to buy with my clothes. So lots of my clothes have got this line on. So this is the scalloped line. So I'm just going to fill up the space with my scalloped line. Now, if you want, you could join them to the line above, and then you get a kind of fishy pattern there if you use that line and you join it up, or you don't have to join it up. You can just have your scalloped line. But that looks a little bit cool, doesn't it? A bit like a mermaid. What do you think? Yeah? So let's keep going. Now I'm going to finish that later, okay? Now my next one, this one, I'm going to do the fun one, the one I liked the best, which was my loopy line. Ready? And go whee. And again. Whee. What could I do for this space here? I might use, I think I might use my spirals here. I'm going to use a different colour actually. I'm going to get my blue. You ready? So start in the middle and just keep going around. Work yourself out. And as soon as I hit that outside, I'm going to stop. So I'm going to start in here. Oh, I'm going again. As soon as I hit something, I'm going to stop. Oh. And again. There we go. Now I'm going to carry that on afterwards. So your job is to fill up all of the spaces in your doodle with lots of different lines. Now, they can be the lines that we've already practiced, or you could have a go at making up your own lines and giving them your own names. So you could carry on practicing on the back and then add one that you like to your doodle. Now I'm going to give you some time to do that. So I want you to pause the video, have a go at filling up the spaces on your doodle with all those different lines. When you've done that, unpause the video and we'll have a look at them together, and I will have finished mine. Right then, so as you can see guys, I've finished my doodle now, and I'm sure that you've done a really good job on yours. Now, I wonder, have a look at your doodle now, and can you tell me all of the lines that you used? So remember, we named our lines, they're not artistic names or anything like that, just the names that we give them. So I want you to tell me now, what lines did you use? Wow. So some of you have used some of the lines that we've already practiced, maybe some of the ones that I've done on my doodles. So I did the castle lines. I did zigzag lines. They remind me of a W for Mrs. Walsh. My diagonal lines, my spiral lines, my scalloped lines, and my loop-de-loop lines, my loopy lines. And I invented a new line. So this was my new line that I invented. So I'm going to call it, it looks like a wave, like you could surf these waves. I'm going to call it my seaside line. Now, did you invent any new lines? Oh, you did. Well done. Excellent job. Which one of your lines was the easiest to draw? Really? I think I found the loopy one the easiest to draw because my hand just flowed along the page. So which one was the trickiest line to draw? That was the same one for me. The castle line was mine. It actually made my hands hurt a little bit. I think because I was at a funny angle and kept having to change direction all the time. Now, you could make a doodle like this in lots of different ways. You could do it with multicolored lines. You could do it where you colored some of them in and you just used lines for some of the other ones. So why don't you, after this, maybe have a go at making some more doodles with some more lines. And then I would love to see you back here once again for our second session for our art lesson. Okay, it's been great doing some art with you. Have a good day and I'll see you soon. Take care.